Podcasting is like poetry in motion. Cross the guy to the left, take him back to the right, he's falling back, then you hit the hot take button right in his face. Then you look at him and say, what? This is He Got Game on In the Can, part of the Barn Burner Podcast Network.
We out the projects, baby. Where we gonna live at, son? Central Park West somewhere? What you gonna buy your mama, son? Come on. A big house. It's the will of the man. It ain't the skill of the man. Don't be afraid of nobody. Take it. Take
Go
it.
strong, baby.
Like nobody's better than you.
Do you have a son named Jesus Shuttlesworth? Is your son considered the #1 high school prospect in these United States?
He's awesome, baby, with a capital A.
The governor's made a request that your son seriously consider enrolling in his alma mater, Big State. The governor's given me his word. He'll do everything in his power to cut your time here short. The NC2A deadline is 1 week away. 2 parole officers will be assigned to you.
Yeah, I guess I better get working now, huh? Young little son.
What did I tell you about letting strangers in the house?
He's not a stranger. He's our father.
I don't have a father.
Look, I need to talk to you.
You'll see me around.
The man escaped just like Shawshank.
Why beat around the bush? We love you.
It's $10,000.
I don't need that money, Coach.
You can look like Buddy Hackett and drive down the street with this and have 40 girls chasing you.
Oh, Jesus.
I want you to go to Big State, son. You find it in your heart to go to Big State, they may let me out on an early parole.
I got that arthritis thing.
My brother's got the same arthritic condition. It's going around here in Coney Island.
Yeah. It's contagious.
Why in the hell did you name me Jesus anyway? What type of name is that? Jesus!
Biblical name.
No kidding.
I pray that you understand why I put you. I was the one who put the ball in your crib.
I ain't no baby no more.
Dear Lord, deliver Jesus to us.
People make mistakes. People veer off the path. So what? God forgives them. When will you?
Never. Fool.
I bet he can finally beat you.
One-on-one?
And this will be the most important decision
In your life.
Don't blow it.
All right, trailer kind of had me hype up. Welcome to the episode of In the Can, part of the Barn Burner Podcast Network. We're part of the Barn Burner. Check us out at the-barnburner.com. And subscribe to our feed. We've got our own movie feed now, so check that out on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I've got Mason. I've got Sue, famously of Theater and College Hoops. Sue, this is your debut in the can. I sent out a text to you and said, like, what movies do you want to do? This is one of the ones that came up. We're the rail splitters, guys. No one's going to fuck with us. All I'm asking is for y'all to let me wet my beak a little bit. Sue, why is this a movie that you immediately wanted to do?
So I think, first of all, the basketball angle, if we start with the obvious, it's definitely my favorite basketball movie. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite sports movie, but the basketball angle, number one. Number two, Denzel, who Shea Serrano has dubbed the greatest actor ever. And I'm in line with thinking that as well. And then also, I mean, we'll get to him in a little bit, but Ray Allen, I mean, obviously the basketball angle, but Ray Allen's one of the most pure shooters. Everyone loved him. I think he was on the Bucks when this movie came out and he was filming it. Ray Allen, just a really huge fan favorite. So I can't remember the first time I watched this. It obviously wasn't when it came out, because I think I was maybe 9 or 10 years old or something like that. But around 8th, 9th grade is when I first watched this. And I mean, I just loved it. I loved the storyline, and I didn't know it then, but it gave a great look and insight for me first into how big time college basketball recruiting at the high school level goes, what some of these guys really go through. And I mean, a lot of people have made parallels with Sebastian Telfair. So those are a few of the points that really made me gravitate to this film.
Yeah, I mean, this is before AAU too. So it's like not even, kids could go straight from high school to the league. The AAU was around, but it wasn't as big as it is now. So you're not seeing as much of that in this movie, but it still really feels modern. I mean, in the way that the recruiting underhand dealing goes to some extent. Mason, you just watched this movie the first time, I think, recently. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched it for the first time at some point during the pandemic. Not sure exactly when. And then I just did a rewatch 2 days ago. It's a good movie. I'm not sure if it's my favorite basketball movie, but I think it is definitely a movie worth watching and one of the better basketball movies. It's a little long for my liking, man. I'm not a big movie guy, and this 2 hours and 17 minutes, that's tough for me, but I enjoyed it. So glad to get into it with you.
Yeah, man, that's a common criticism of Spike Lee, and we'll get into that too. His movies are a little too long. He kind of indulges himself a little bit. I think like once he gets the money, once they throw a couple like 20 million at him to make a movie, he like puts all his ideas on screen and sees what sticks. And that's kind of like one of the big criticisms with him. I think we could talk about what could have been trimmed out of here, but I think there's an easy 20 to 25 minute cut here. And we can get to those portions of the movie later. Movie was a box office bomb. Actually, it was a $26 million budget, came out and only made 24 million worldwide. So that's an incredible loss because not even making back the budget, you also have to factor in like marketing costs and all of that stuff. So that's like a huge bomb despite having a great opening weekend. So that's something that it kind of became like a cult classic because no one saw it when it first came out. Basketball movies. Sue, you think this is the best in your opinion, Mason? You have it in there, but you don't think it's the best. What are some other films you guys think of? I think basketball movies. For example, mine, I think White Men Can't Jump. I think Hoosiers, obviously. And those are kind of the two ones that come to mind when I think about basketball movies. And now, honestly, that new Ben Affleck movie that we did a couple months ago is pretty good too.
Funny enough, the 13th, which is when we're recording right now, I think it was the 15-year anniversary of Coach Carter coming out. So I really liked Coach Carter.
Mason loves Coach Carter.
Yeah,
that's a great film.
Yeah,
and that was our film. Like that was our age, early 2000s. We were in middle or high school, so that was kind of our film. What else you guys, Sue?
So, look, Air Bud is up there, and then what's the one with Bow Wow? Like
Mike.
Like Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
Joanna Man. I mean,
Joanna Man. Thank you.
Can't leave out Blue Chips. I mean, that's up there for me.
Penny was in Blue Chips, right?
It was. Yeah, we did Blue Chips earlier this year. There's not a lot of them too. I think it's
basketball.
Love and Basketball. That's kind of one of the ones that's thought of as like a pretty artistic movie, like kind of a higher level, I guess, than like a Coach Carter or whatever. Just kind of like a fun popcorny movie. But this one's as good as it gets, I think, as far as my money goes, because Spike really cares about basketball, and that bleeds through the frame when you're watching it. Like the opening montage is basically his love letter to the basketball, and it's everyone across the country, multiple creeds, multiple races, different socioeconomic backgrounds. They're all just playing basketball wherever they can. Some people on like, fucking dirt with like a milk crate hoop, and then some people on like nice concrete courts and all of that. That's just like a total Spike Lee move to have his credits roll over the scene. And he loves the game. He's the famous Knicks fan, talking shit with Reggie Miller. He still sits courtside, when COVID's not around. So I really appreciated that. It's clearly made by someone that loves basketball.
Yeah, and then it goes right into Ray Allen's beautiful jumper too, right after the montage. Like it couldn't be any better. It ends with like Michael Jordan, the pinnacle, and kind of goes into the game itself.
Well, how funny is that too? The opening montage. Obviously, the scenery is beautiful. Like you had mentioned, Sam, different venues, the hoops, the nets. But it's funny, you go from all these amateurs playing street ball and their shots to like probably the purest jump shot ever, arguably him or Steph Curry, to Ray Allen. So it's kind of funny how that took a transition. But I loved the opening montage as well, and the music. I mean, Strantz, you are the movie guy, but even I could recognize that opening montage with the visuals, but also the music behind it really thrust me into this film within the first like 20 seconds.
Yeah, the music's weird. I mean, he has a composer, Aaron Copland, I think is his name, and he does like the classical film score, which is like kind of a sweeping like trombone and trumpet score like you'd see in like the Patriot or something. And then he's also got like he's got hip hop in there too. He's got Public Enemy doing a song for the movie that comes out alongside this movie. And it's weird because like I don't know if he knew what he was going to do with the music. I think I probably would have liked one or the other, like a hard commit one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, it's very cinematic. All right, we're going to jump into it. Best Denzel performance. I mean, is this the best Denzel performance? Is there another one that comes to mind? I mean, the whole movie hinges on him. You have to buy into Jake Shuttleworth's plight and like he's the plot device. And Denzel's one of the greatest living actors right now. He's goddamn charismatic in everything he's in, and he really has a working relationship with Spike. Right? He was in Malcolm X. And got his first Oscar nomination for Malcolm X with Spike, and Spike kind of just like gets on the horn with him anytime and goes, "Hey, I'm making this. You want to come be in it?" And Denzel's like, "I'm on my way." How do y'all feel about Denzel's performance here? Is it high in the ranking, or how do we feel? Sue?
It's up there, but it's definitely not his best. You had mentioned Malcolm X. You mentioned, I mean, you think about Philadelphia as well. But to be honest with you, and I might even do a 180 right 30 seconds after I just said that, but it might not even be his best sports movie. I think Remember the Titans, he's even better. So, it's funny. Denzel actually might have looked even greater in He Got Game because, and we can dive into this a little later, but because of some of the other acting was so fucking bad, man. Like, I love this movie. I will go to bat for this movie anytime, but I cannot sit here and tell you that Walter McCarty and Travis Best and Ray Allen, who's a main character, were given fantastic performances. Even like Dom
don't step
Pagnani.
on the Rail Splitters, man. We're gonna get to the Rail Splitters roster. I've got like 7 minutes on. We're gonna go through the Rail Splitters. Yeah.
All right, but okay. So even like Dom Pagnani, though, the crazy agent who's like, he's just like the most Italian typecast guy ever. But I think Denzel does obviously shine in this, and he carries the film. And he's the one that has to show all of these like this range of emotions throughout. But I don't think it's his best film. Slim, what about you, man?
Yeah, man, I agree with your take on Remember the Titans being a better performance. But honestly, this movie would be unwatchable without Denzel. So he definitely did the damn thing. And that, that's no knock on Denzel. That's just, he is a good actor and has better performances. It's just like you win one championship, then you win a few more. That's just what you do. So I'm not going to go through, all the films he's been in, basically because I don't know all the films he's been in. But without Denzel, we would not be talking about He Got Game today. That's for damn sure.
That's definitely true. I think Training Day is for me peak Denzel.
Yeah.
That is a performance right there. And he's just like a giant black hole, and he sucks everyone in. And that's actually got really great acting around him. He's got Ethan Hawke, who's like a multiple Academy Award nominee. That Ethan Hawke's just like trying to stay above water when he's on screen with Denzel. But that's another podcast for another day.
Well, in the scenes between Ray and Denzel, they were Ray's best scenes. Like when he's talking to his sister alone and some of the other scenes, it's a little awkward. And I mean, it's just like, oh, this is just fucking Ray Allen, who's fresh out of the NBA playing the second leading role in this movie. It was very obvious, but I mean, he did his best.
All right. Best NBA player performance. Let's easy segue here. Not a lot of nominees necessarily. I have a lot of love for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane. When he shows up as one of the co-pilots. Mason, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's an absurd performance. They basically acknowledge the fact that he's Kareem and he's in the airplane flying the plane, but no one can understand why he's the famous basketball player on the plane. I can't imagine an NBA player doing a better job. So I guess he makes his way into the NBA acting pantheon, just kind of by way of like, who else are you casting in this movie? And we'll get to some casting what ifs, but like, it's a reasonably believable performance. There's no like cringing moments, like, solely due to Ray Allen. But he has a lot of dialogue in this movie and a lot of scenes, and he has to do a lot. I mean, he has to do obviously playing basketball is the easy part for him, like looking good at basketball, but then just the scenes with his sister, he has to be like carrying Big Brother, and he has to have this angry son-dad relationship, and he has to do like the petulant kid, and he has to like bang Rosario Dawson in a Ferris wheel, which that probably wasn't so hard to do. What do we feel about Ray Allen's performance here?
I mean, hold on. That had to be hard to do. Ray Allen's like 6'7", and what kind of Ferris wheel do you just stay at the top of? Like, they never went down to the bottom.
No, you never been in one of those? A good Ferris wheel will take you to the top and then leave you there for a while, and then it'll keep going around, stopping, and letting people stay at the top to see the sights.
No, but I need to get on one. It looks like
you need to get on one with Rosario Dawson. Yeah,
or my wife. Either way.
Yeah, it's a podcast world, man. You can do whatever. Stu, how are you feeling about Ray Allen's performance? I mean, he's your boy. Guy. You're a Celtics guy. I mean, wait, do you guys like him now? I can never remember. Like, or do you?
I would say that majority has forgiven him. I was definitely I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I loved him the second he went to the Heat. I fucking hated him too, but I grew up. I was in college. I think I was a sophomore in college when he left, and then of course Salt in the Wound, they won the title. It'd be a lot better if they didn't win, but I'm fine on Ray Allen now. I've done a 180 on him. I probably shouldn't have been angry at him in the first place, but you live and you learn and you grow. But in terms of his his performance here, I have to tell you, it was terrible. I didn't think any of the lines were very believable. I didn't think the emotion that he was trying to put forth was believable. But at the same time, it's part of the charm of this film, and I think why I still love it, because that's an NBA superstar. Nobody's asking Ray Allen to be a brilliant actor, right? Nobody's asking Ray Allen to carry this film, as we've discussed. It's Denzel. He did a good enough job, and I genuinely, and I'm being serious when I say this, I can't knock him for how hard he must have tried, right? Because Spike Lee casts you across Denzel. You can't say no to that, especially when you're a burgeoning superstar. So I actually thought, he wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but he passed as a high school basketball phenom, which I suppose is like the bare minimum he could have done.
Yeah, I think my favorite Ray Allen part of the movie is when he was like, how come you never hear them praising Jesus in the losers locker room? They probably cussing that motherfucker out. I felt like that was his best delivered line of the movie. But like I said, I already said he wasn't a good actor, but like it's a cult movie, and he did good enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think it was the best NBA player performance, so not a high bar there. And so if you have blue chips, it's kind of pretty tough, the Hardaway performance in there. And so is Shaq just kind of being himself. So it's like a little bit like, because he's just a goofy guy, but it's not like we have some performance to point to that's like the pinnacle of NBA player acting.
It might be Kareem. Honestly, that like you.
Yeah, I'm pretty partial to that, but he didn't have to do anything. He just like sits there.
And
since LeBron was in,
yeah, he's pretty good in those scenes.
He actually was
Space Jam.
Space Jam 2 could end up usurping Ray Allen's title here, but I'm still going with this is the best recorded dramatic performance by an NBA player.
Well, has any NBA player gotten as many minutes as Ray Allen in front of the screen?
No, he got a lot of shot attempts here. He gets a lot of shot attempts to get his points, but
literally too. Like, literally, he's taking a lot of shots.
You probably got Shaq and Kazam and MJ in Space Jam. That's the two closest I can think of.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Ray. My deep and somewhat thought-provoking question section: is this movie too long? Mason, you think it is? So are you fired up about the running time? Are you like, this is the perfect amount of time to spend with the story? Or is there something, aka Mila Jovovich and the entire stripper hooker scenes, the hooker subplot that you would love to cut? Because I certainly would.
No, don't cut the hooker subplot, because there are some hilarious lines from Denzel in this, like when she says, "You got balls." He goes, both of them," and I just like crack up every single time he says that. So don't cut those scenes. Honestly, I was fine with the length. This is the type of movie where like I'll be drunk during the day on Saturday at 2 p.m. and I'll see it, and it'll be just starting, and I'm like, all right. So I know what I'm doing for the next 2.5 hours because it's COVID lockdown. I got nothing else to do, and I love seeing it. So I'm honestly fine with the length, but I think that's because I've just gotten so used to it at this point. If I were to go back to the first time I viewed it, I'd probably be like, God damn, like when is this resolution coming? What is he going to pick? What's going to happen to Jake? But honestly, I'm fine with it. And because there are some corny parts that just make me laugh.
Yeah, Mason, too long? Is it just what would you have cut to make this a more streamlined plot?
I'm with you on the stripper scenes. The rest of the movie had a message around it, because this isn't really like a basketball movie. It's a movie built around basketball. There was nothing really that you got out of the stripper scenes other than, Denzel kind of showed that he was human, and Dakota showed that she was also human. And, if you're a decent person, you already know that. So it was, the stripper scenes.
So the hooker with the heart of gold, like plot mechanic, is kind of a trope. And it's like, we get it, like everyone's a human being. And I don't understand like what he was trying to say with that. Like we didn't really need Denzel to have a love interest, because he still like cared about his wife. So in some sense, I always feel like he's kind of betraying his dead wife. Like when he's having this thing, even though she's dead and whatever, but it just feels weird to me. It's like, he's supposed to be this pinnacle of morality, I think, in the story. Like it's like this retribution, right? He gets forgiveness. He's this pinnacle of morality at this point, and like he's banging a stripper. And like, whatever. I mean, he's trying to get laid. I understand we're all humans, but like, I don't know. It comes across as weird.
It might just be that Spike's trying to tell us that he is capable of being loved again, despite him, obviously, spoiler alert, murdering his wife. But yeah, I mean, in terms of where Milo ranks in terms of like pertinence or importance, yeah, she's very well below. But here's a little question for you, because I love doing this with movies and also commercials. I'll be like, ooh, the Leo DiCaprio meme in Once Upon a Time. You say to yourself, where is that actress or where's that actor from? Where have I seen that person from? Can you tell me Mila? I'm sure she has a filmography, but I'm talking like one of the more famous movies. I'll give you a hint. High School.
Dazed and Confused.
God damn it. All right, you're sharp.
Yeah, come on. Also, Resident Evil. Do you remember that movie? Those movies that came out, they were bad, but she was in that too.
I didn't know that. I should have directed that towards Mace. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's okay. I came in
all night.
yeah, I came in and swatted that shit. The plot mechanic. All right, so like Denzel is in jail, and the warden calls him in and says, "Okay, the governor or whatever, who's like, I guess, ostensibly responsible for sentencing or like just kind of how the jail operates, is a big booster of Big State." And then I want to talk Big State and tech you later, but Big State, okay? And so he realizes that Denzel's son is the number one recruit. Some scouting mags have him 2 or 3 or whatever, as Denzel says. But he says, Denzel, I'll let you off for a week. You convince your son to go to Big State, and then we're going to reduce your sentence or whatever the agreement is. Denzel actually does this. He succeeds, despite all of us thinking that it won't happen. And then he just gets fucked by the governor and the warden and everything. I guess he's like, nothing happens. He's still in jail at the end. Like, get my guy up to a Big State game to watch his kid play. And at least his one season there. I mean, this is an absurd movie plot. But could you guys imagine this happening in real life? I just want to like play this out in real life. A scenario where I could see Calipari finagling this.
Yeah, it's got to be Kentucky, right?
I could see a situation where like Cal knows the governor of Kentucky. They rub elbows at like Cal's mansion every now and then. They probably stayed up a couple times smoking very expensive cigars, and I could see a situation where this ends up happening. I think what I'm saying is Cal could get a convicted murderer, out for a week to do some shady shit for a recruit.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could. And to be honest with you, as an Arizona fan, I know we always shoehorn this in, but I kind of wish that like someone in Tucson or Phoenix or anywhere could deliver us some recruits without being shady. I mean, I guess that is being shady, but like it's not straight up paying a player, is it? Like, I mean, can the NCAA come down on you? Like, would they have come down on again, Big State or Tech U being citing what rule? Like, your dad coerced his son. That's what happens all the time. It's just like, I mean, I know there's big politics into it, but I think that'd be a very creative and more fun way of landing some recruits. I mean, you got to start hobnobbing with the inmates potentially. Who knows?
Yeah, take notes, you boosters out there. Coaches aren't allowed to discuss potential recruits until after the signing period. So all those scenes, obviously, of all the coaches talking about Jesus, and even George Karl shows up for a second. I was like, he just wanted to pay. He just like was around for one day on set and was like, yeah, I'll take like a couple grand or whatever. Thought that was weird. Like, why they had this random NBA coach commenting on him. Like, did the Supersonics have a pick that year that was really high or something? Or was he just like around, I guess? Maybe he's just friends with Spike.
Wasn't he Ray's head coach in Milwaukee?
He was Ray's head coach in Seattle, but I don't know about the Bucks. I actually don't know where he was before Seattle.
I feel like he might have been, but yeah, I mean, that's probably the only connection I could see. Yeah. And I mean, who knows? Like, because people were still, going to the league from high school. I think that was around the time like Kevin Garnett and Kobe, et cetera. So
sure. You get these shots of this like ESPN special, and these coaches are sitting at their desks with a camera pointed in their face talking about this recruit. And like, that just does not happen. I mean, not to be like picking this movie apart or whatever, but like imagine if like the Andrew Wiggins year, you have like a camera right in fucking Roy Williams' face and goes, well, Wiggins sure is good. And like, that's like, they just flash around. It'd be weird as hell and like not even good television. So I don't know. I mean, they just wanted to get the cameos in there, but that was funny. All right.
Lute was on there too, by the way.
Yeah,
Sorry.
your boy Lute. No, I noticed that. Would it have killed Spike to end things with the paroled Denzel sitting in the stand cheering on Jake at Big State? Like, was there a reason why he has to get screwed over and we had this like fucking Spike Lee ending? Like, give me a happy ending, Spike. You know,
Well,
like
I think Spike was also showing, a side of society where, first of all, law enforcement put a black man, being Jake, into an impossible win or go home situation. Basically, he succeeds, but he didn't succeed in the way they wanted by, getting. I mean, he did lose the game, so I'm not trying to give out participation trophies here. But at the end of the day, Jesus went to Big State, and then they bring it back on a technicality, which that's just. I think that's more so Spike showing the troubles of everyday America and the struggles of being a black man in America specifically. So I think he had to put him back in jail to kind of, and especially after the quote Denzel gave at the end when he was like, basically you need to get that hatred out your heart or you're going to end up just like your father. And I think just after that, he had to go back to jail just for the closing of the movie.
That final oomph there.
Yeah.
I
everything still ain't sweet. Like, yeah, this kid got to college, but he's still raising his sister. His dad's in jail and still don't have his mother back. These kids go to college, but that doesn't make all their problems in the world go away.
Coming out of the projects too, Coney Island, a big hotbed for hoops at this point.
Right.
Near and dear to Spike, a New York native. All right, we're doing the comp for Big State now, and I'm also going to do a comp for Tech U. My comp for Big State is Indiana University. I would the heart of IU, let's say end of Bobby Knight's tenure, but still like they're still relevant in the college basketball landscape. We're not in the Crean years yet. They've even got the red color scheme. They seem to be kind of like the maybe the pinnacle of the old guard. You got this old rich ass governor as an alum up there, and the Tech U to me would be the hot up and coming college. Trying to think about who that is in like the late 90s. Is it Arizona, Sue? I mean, you guys are out there probably hiring hookers to get these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. They won their title in '97. But if I'm going to make a comparison to Big State, it could be because I'm watching this game right now. But for some reason, I'm thinking Texas because I think big, you think Texas. You think of like the amount of money and pull the University of Texas have. They're the flagship school of Texas. And then the other reason, John Turturro, who was the head coach at Big State, or was he the head coach at Tech U?
Tech U.
Oh, he was the head coach.
We don't see the coach of Big State for some reason.
That's right. Okay, then I might have to completely hijack this and change my position. Then Tech U might be Texas because I just see so many parallels between Shaka Smart and John Turturro. Obviously, Shaka's grown out his hair, kind of looks like Turturro now. But I also feel like Shaka would be that guy when he gets a prized recruit. He's like trying to be cool with him, like dribbling, that little scene where Turturro like does a little hesitation move or something. He puts on an absurd like video of Jesus parting the sea. I feel like Shaka would do all of that and try to relate as much as possible with the kid. So I take it back. Big State is not Texas. I'm going to say Tech U is Texas. In terms of the uprising, I guess, in the late 90s, maybe you could reference like TJ Ford. That team, they were pretty good. They might have been early 2000s. But, I'll say Texas.
I think I'll go Big State, Kansas. School that just runs the state, and you could see the governor getting, having that type of pool, just like Kentucky could be. And for Tech U, because of the big U, I immediately thought Miami. So I'm going to go with the Hurricanes. We're number one for Tech U, which seemed like the party school. But I think number 2 and 3 has got to be Arizona and UCLA. I mean, you got the blonde white chicks, and those are, you think of Pac-12 schools, like.
Yeah, you're right. That's what you guys got going out there. I mean, Arizona State, right? Who has the more beautiful women, Arizona or Arizona State?
That's a good
Or is
question.
it just kind of like it's
a wash, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd pretty much, you're splitting hairs at that point.
Okay. All right, let's do what everyone's always wanted to do, and let's get into the Rail Splitters roster. I have here all 5 positions. At point guard, we have Booger Sykes, 5'7" senior. He feels handsome when he's on the court. I think he's a real floor general, real orchestrator in the pick and roll. A lot of chemistry with Jesus, having been friends on and off the court. What do we think of Booger's game? Do we have any comps for Booger?
I mean, game wise, he's not this person, but all I could think about is fucking Draymond Green. Maybe even Damian Lee's a better example too, because Draymond Green is just chirping loud. He's like that little gnat next to you. You take away his big brother, Steph Curry, you take away Booger's cousin, Jesus Shuttlesworth, they're nothing, right? Just like that's the first thing that came to mind was like, I want to squash you like a bug. Obviously, the diminutive stature versus what Draymond doesn't play, but like they're just riding the coattails of this superstar. And that's the first thing that I thought of Draymond.
Is this like one of your takes is that Draymond's a hack and like you're going to do is one of your Skip Bayless takes here?
I don't think it's a Skip Bayless take, man. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to dive too far into my thoughts on Draymond Green because we're talking he got game, great theater.
Yeah.
That's my personal comp though.
Okay.
Play wise, give me a second to think about that. Mason,
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's one thing for sure, and that's that there's no way in hell that Booger is a good shooter. So he just seems like an energy guy, defender, point guard who doesn't really do anything, just dribbles the ball up the court and passes to Jesus. But, shout out to young Gil Harper.
Yeah, young Gil Harper, 31 when this movie was shot.
He was 31?
He was 31?
31.
Holy shit, he looks 12.
Yep. Yeah, that was some IMDb trivia for later, but I feel like that was relevant there. At shooting guard, Sip Rogers, 5'9", junior. He says nobody's fucking with us. He says I play the 2 spot. I love that. I wish that more shooting guards would like announce their position like that. I think he's a chucker, man. I feel like he's going to get maybe 25 or 5. But I have nothing to base that on. He's kind of the hothead of the group. It seems like.
Was that Walter McCarty?
That was
Yes.
Travis Best, wasn't it?
That was Travis Best. So, okay. Yeah. Travis Best in this, for my money, he's the guy on that team that is jealous of the superstar, where pretty much everyone else knows who the superstar is except for this guy. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to get mine still. I'm going to try and outperform the superstar as opposed to like, I'm trying to beat my own teammate as opposed to beating the opponent. So yeah, I see him as a chucker as well. And definitely a scenario where late game situation, for some reason, the play's drawn up for Jesus, but Sip shoots it, misses it. And there's probably some turmoil there.
I got an OJ Mayo vibe. Like he might throw it off the backboard and dunk it and then kick it into the stands and just walk off the court, which OJ Mayo did to end his college career. So, but yeah, I think definitely a jealous type, but a good ball player. Like he's going to go D1 somewhere, maybe mid-major, be a immediate contributor. And, now if he had the one-time transfer rule, we'd probably see him leave after a year or two and be a major contributor at a big-time school.
I think that's a good path going forward. It's small forward Jesus Shuttleworth, 6'5" senior, gives us the poetry in motion quote. Obviously the superstar on the team, number 1 recruit in the country, carries Lincoln High to is it an undefeated record in the state title or did they lose a game? I don't remember their overall record.
I think it was undefeated.
Yeah. Not a lot of that. They didn't show a lot of basketball, which was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lonnie Dub Dukes at power forward, 6'9" junior. The game brings him love, peace, and happiness. How do we feel Lonnie is holding down the power forward spot? Is he? I mean, is he just a rebounder, energy guy? Is he? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the read on this guy. I can't get. Now, of course, Lonnie is played by John Wallace, who was a player for the Knicks. Played 7 years, 6'8" power forward. Played 7 seasons. And was drafted in 96 in the first round. So actually so the 2 guard and then the power forward and center spots were all NBA players drafted in the first round, right around this time. So we're playing in the league.
So based on his little one-liner, I'm thinking maybe Chris Bosh, love, peace, and happiness, maybe a little bit of a sensitive side, soft, can play though. Nobody's saying Chris Bosh can't play. He's a Hall of Famer. He's great. But Chris Bosh does have that little sensitive side to him. And I think also a little bit of a finesse game. Nobody's going to confuse these two with the power forward, like putting the power and power forward. So I'm going to go with like a little bit of a stretch 4, maybe an elbow jumper, soft guy, very, very in touch with his emotions.
Man, I think he's a scrub. I can't lie. I think he's just in the senior class with those guys, and he's just, part of the team. And because he's a senior, he's starting for the team chemistry.
All right, some hate on Dub here. Of course, he got his nickname Dub by presumably winning games. So I mean, maybe he's just kind of the lucky charm, the glue guy on the team.
I know a lot of
You don't
dub.
buy it?
I don't know.
All
No.
Mance Little, 6'10" junior at center. Basketball and being on the court is the perfect place to follow his dreams. Kind of we got some real thinkers here in the front court. For the, I think the feisty guys are in the guard and wing spots, and these guys are just out there. Mance was played by Walter McCarty, a Celtic for many, many years. And that was the mid to late 90s. Soup, do you have any relationship with McCarty, or is this kind of before you entered the stratosphere?
Strictly through Tommy Heinzen, rest in peace. The greatest calls when he would ever say, "I love Walter," just having an absolute aneurysm, going crazy over Walter McCarty hitting a corner three. That was probably the best experiences as a young Celtics fan. But Walter McCarty, man, let me tell you something. He's probably just like raw athletic. That's about it. He probably has zero touch around the rim, can't shoot free throws. And I hate to go there, but there's no way he read his little one-liner off a teleprompter or anything like that. He had to memorize that because at the very end of the movie, we see that he can't even read a sentence. So I'm thinking he's just this brute force down low, zero touch, zero finesse at all, just a freak athlete who can dunk the basketball.
Oh, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Spike. Highlighting another issue in today's society, athletes just getting passed along, and then they're juniors, seniors in high school, and they can't read simple newspaper clippings, So with that, I'm going to go JaVale McGee, baby.
Oh, that's good.
Cavalier superstar. I think that's a fair comp. All right. IMDb and potentially bullshit Google trivia. Spike Lee originally wanted Kobe Bryant to play the part of Jesus Shuttlesworth. Kobe liked the script and the idea of playing the character. He just finished his rookie year in the NBA, had a brutal playoff loss to the Utah Jazz, and had planned a psychopath Kobe Bryant workout for that summer and couldn't get off for shooting. Decided to work on his game. Spike approached a bunch of NBA players this time, some of which auditioned, some of which turned their nose up at the idea of auditioning and thought they were good enough just to get the part, not considering the fact that Spike wasn't actually seeking a basketball player. He was seeking an actor. T-Bag audition. They said he was real timid. And not good.
I don't think Sub knows who turned it down, so let's play a little trivia with him.
Okay.
After you get through the rest of the roster who didn't make the cut.
Yeah. T-Mac auditioned. You can get the part. Spike promptly sought out Allen Iverson, who didn't want to audition, didn't think he needed to audition. That's a pretty typical AI trait. I feel like you love to hear it. And then actually Jesus Shuttlesworth was allegedly based on a New York Hooper that came out in the mid to late 90s and was a electric point guard and came out of actually Coney Island. Do you know who this player was, Soup?
Was it Stephon Marbury?
It was.
Yeah.
However,
but it's not. Spike says it's not.
Spike says it's not. Stephon says, look at the characters, and there's no way it's not. And Spike just goes to the grave on it not being. Now, it is worthy of mention that Stephon didn't come audition and kind of wanted no part of it necessarily. So I think Spike might hell hath no fury like Spike scorned. So, we'll see. Spike disagrees, says a ton of people came out of Coney Island, but the comparison's apt. Then he went to Ray Allen, and Ray said, "Yeah, sure, an opportunity to work with Spike. I'll do it." And that's how we ended up with Ray Allen in the part. Any other NBA players that tried out that I haven't mentioned that you guys figured out?
I think you covered it all, but I'm thankful Allen Iverson did not get this role, man. I feel like a bad role for AI early in his career could have just really squashed what he became, the mogul that he became. And I'm just really glad he didn't do it. I'm very sad Kobe Bryant airballed 4 times against the Jazz and turned it down, because I think he would have made this movie much better. I mean, this is young Kobe Bryant with the Adidas Moon shoes and the fro, coming off just taking Brandy to fucking prom. This was Hollywood Kobe Bryant, and it would have been beautiful.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we talk Hill Harper being 31 years old, but he looks like a freshman, sophomore. He looks like a high schooler for sure. Ray Allen was a grown ass man in that movie. And look, a lot of these stud high school players are by their senior year. Even like James Wiseman. Does James Wiseman look that much different now than he did 2 years ago? These guys just look NBA ready. But damn, man, Ray Allen was like, I feel like that was another level. Like Kobe looked young. He was a killer, but Kobe looks young, and he obviously was. But it was just it was funny to me seeing that. I'm like, God damn, this guy, like, clearly he's the number one recruit.
Yeah, I mean, because he quite literally had already been in the NBA for 2 years, and he's supposed to be playing a senior. So yeah, that's where we stood with Ray. I actually kind of ride for Allen Iverson. I think that would have been it either really is awesome or it is like the Hindenburg. It just goes down in flames. But like, I think he could really play that quiet, angry type really well, because he kind of like carried that ship his entire NBA career. So I think he might have been good in scenes. I could see him doing it. And like, I mean, almost doing like a Daniel Day-Lewis character actor. Like he like puts himself in those shoes of that character and like gets angry at Denzel as like a fictional character. I could see it working, but at the same time, if it goes wrong, it may derail his entire NBA career, because then he's catching shit from all angles, not just from the league, but he's also catching it from pop culture avenues. So I take your point there. All right, the shoes that Jake purchases as soon as he gets out of the joint, which Jordans are those, Mason?
13s.
All right.
God damn. Swatted that shit.
Exactly what I wanted. Yeah. Let's see here. George Karl would eventually coach Ray Allen as a Supersonic. And I feel like at that point that George Karl was telling him, remember that time I gassed you up on set of when we were shooting He Got Game. So let's move on to the categories, unless you guys have any other thoughts on the movie.
Just real quick, if you'll indulge me in a very quick rabbit hole, what if this movie was made like 10 years later and they cast Lance Stevenson and said Coney Island guy? Now that would have been hysterical. Could have been a comedy. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Lance Stevenson, another big Coney Island guy.
Yeah. Sebastian Telfair too. Let's see. So the shoes, I thought it was a good touch having Jesus wear those at the end as he's finally reading the letters from Jake that he had not opened for the years that Jake's been in prison. So I thought that was a good touch. And then I believe Jesus was wearing pennies throughout most of it. He was wearing foams, Nike foams.
I actually didn't take note of that. That's good. I mean, that was one of the most popular shoes at the time and remains one of the most popular shoes to date. So shout out Penny Hardaway. May not coach another game this year because of COVID, but he is always our dude. All right, let's move into the categories. First category, who gets the most buckets in this movie? Our category for best acted. It's a little ironic at this point because it's a basketball movie. So, the categories are maybe a little more literal than they would have been. I mean, I feel like this is kind of an easy answer because we've already touched on the fact that without Denzel's performance in this movie, it might be completely unwatchable, which I think was a good point by Mason. I feel like you could feel Jake's pain and regret. I feel like as a husband, he failed the woman he loves. You get this like flash of domestic violence and he kills her. And then as a father, he's failed his children. And you could tell like he's not a murderer. It was just a manslaughter sort of deal. It was like a negligent manslaughter or whatever to get all legal on. But it's a really good performance. And I mean, it just capitalizes on Denzel being so fucking charismatic and like you could just really buy into any character he's playing. And he's like athletic, right? Like he can play, although I kind of want to talk about his jump shot.
I do too. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like, look, he's athletic, but that jump shot is broke as fuck.
All right. So I think it's Denzel. What do you guys think? And let's talk about his jump shot right now.
Oh my gosh! So, all right, we're talking jump shot. Okay, who does it remind me? It sneaky reminds me of Michael Redd. I don't think Michael Redd brought it back that far back. Like, I mean, he's touching the back of his neck, man. He's touching like his spine. But he's hitting it, and he's got that old man game, right? And the old man look. He's got the baggy tee with the even baggier tank top over it. He's got the 2 knee pads. I don't know if you guys remember Stretch from NBA Street Volume 2. That was like he's got the fro. That was the first thing I thought of. But yeah, I mean, Denzel, in all seriousness, acted his tail off in this. And for my money, best scene was the flashback. Not obviously with the murder scene. But
hang on, Steve, you're getting to a later category, dude.
My bad. Yeah. I'll pause. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I like your passion, but Mason, who do you like?
All right. Well, outside of Denzel, I'm gonna go Jim Brown, the officer assigned to watch Jake as he's out on this assignment. I thought Jim Brown's "take a shower and wash your ass" was one of the best lines in the movie.
Yeah, that's a great line, and he's kind of like the hard ass detective that just he's like, why the fuck they got me doing this duty? You know, like I gotta like watch this guy and like stick around and make sure he doesn't bolt. And you know, he probably doesn't. I mean, he clearly doesn't give a shit about any of the inmates. And you know, like I mean, I imagine it's probably hard to when you're a guard. But yeah, I mean that's a good little character. All right, 6 Man / Woman Award makes the most of their role with limited screen time. Mesa, who you like for the 6 Man / Woman Award?
I guess I should have saved Jim Brown for that one. But outside of Jim Brown, I go Rick Fox. I thought he played a recruiting host and fellow potential teammate really well, and he was very Rick Fox-ish. So
yeah,
why he was so good.
The Kangol hat, I love, kills me. The late '90s of the backwards Kangol hat being like the freshest shit you could have. Like I'd just bring that back, man. I love the Kangol hats.
Look, that scene will that'll make you a grown man. Obviously with what Jesus does with the two young women. But the funniest quote from that, I laugh again. There's so many like little quotes where I just crack up, but it's like Rick Fox, he's talking about like the white women and how much they love black guys. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, they come over, do your dirty draws, you call them up, be like, get over here, let me spank that ass or something like that. I lose it every time, dude.
Yeah, I got it written down. Bitch, get over here and let me spank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the pickup.
Yeah. That whole scene where he's just like the big man on campus taking him around. The fact that they like so I don't know if we're supposed to think that those chicks are actually porn stars, by the way. Those two women are like in real life porn stars. So I don't know if we were supposed to believe they're just hot Tech U co-eds, or if we're supposed to believe that Tech U went and hired porn stars to have a threesome with Jesus. But man, if you're like 17 and you have a threesome with two beautiful women on your college visit, like that would be fucking wild. I mean, maybe it happened to you guys, but sure it happened to me.
Hey man, ask Louisville Cardinals from about 2014 about that. Ask Russ Smith
or Hugh Freeze, you know. Ask some of the old guys from
Jesus was like, forget Billy Sunday. We need to be following them.
Yeah, that's a wild scene. Soup, who you like for 6 Man / Woman?
Well, I mean, if we're making basketball puns, this one's a slam dunk, gentlemen. It's Big Time. It's Big Time Willie.
Yeah. Here's where I give you the ball and you ISO on big time for however long you want.
It might be my favorite scene of the entire film, to be honest with you. I mean, so Jesus and his cousin Booger get in the car with Big Time Willie, who's like just this slick talking guy from New York. His cadence, his voice, the quotes. I mean, the quotes when he says, or Booger's like, or he says, hey, do you know how to spell pussy? And he goes, yeah, I do. Booger's like P-U, and he goes HIV. And it's like, that made me crack up. And then he tells Jesus about all the pitfalls, right? So the money, the drugs, alcohol, the women, and he goes, pussy. I don't even do it justice. He's like, pussy be saying Jesus. Oh, I love you, Jesus. Te amo, Jesus. I mean, it's just flawless. And to be honest with you, like, it is just a very good. I mean, outside of the hilarious quotes and the scene itself, that seems very real. A lot of what we saw does seem accurate. And I can't tell you that I was ever a Coney Island basketball prodigy coming out of high school. But that does seem real. All the pitfalls that he described, and even getting into a car with a slick talking gentleman. Big Time Willie was easily my favorite 6 man.
So is Big Time played by the indelible Roger Guenveur Smith. Don't know what else he did in his career, but a lot of good minutes from him. My question is, what's his? So is he like he's just in the scene, you know, like the kind of the underground scene. Like, I don't know if he's in a gang or he heads up one, but he's like in that scene or he deals or whatever. And then I guess where he says that he's been paying off people to like not fuck with Jesus. He's protecting Jesus from like the people that want to get at him. Is that his role? And then what's their relationship? Like Big Willie and Jesus, are they like friends, or I just want to know more about that.
I don't know if they're friends, but I think the way you described it is basically it. I mean, I think of right off the top of the dome a parallel like Derrick Rose, right? Derrick Rose had his brothers look out for him. So I mean, it's not the exact parallel, but I think they're just Big Time Willie says the blood sucking leeches. That's in a way, that's Willie himself. Like, there's no way he's going to be putting his neck out for what he thinks. I think he looks at Jesus as like an investment. So when he makes it big time, he's probably going to be coming for him and saying like, hey man, remember all the shit that I did? And I'm not like some lowly ex-girlfriend. I'm not some poverty stricken individual who just needs some shoes or something. You know, I'm Big Time Willie. So I do kind of, I look at him as like a guy, like his guardian angel that Jesus never asked for at all.
But maybe he needed, as it turns out. All right, what, Mason, do you have something to say?
No, I mean, I think that was good. Yeah. But I think Willie had bad intentions. Like he wanted something from Jesus. But I will say that there are a lot of people in the hoods across America, drug dealers and leaders of gangs who will put word out like, yo, this dude is not to be messed with. Like, he is from our community and he has a chance to be something really special. So that's not uncommon for 4-star players to kind of receive that treatment from the leaders of their neighborhoods.
Sure. Yeah, I think that kind of rings true. And it's Spike just shoving all this stuff that he knows to be the case in there. And but some of it really works. I mean, that's a quick scene that really gets across, I think, what he was trying to. My pick is John Turturro as Coach Billy Sunday. We already kind of touched on. Like, he just, every time he comes into any movie, I enjoy it. He's a fucking fantastic character actor. His little pump fake, and like I just could see him like dribbling off his foot and then running to go get it and coming back with the ball under his arm. And like, it's great stuff. Just the showmanship and the recruitment and like all of that stuff. Billy Sunday is a fantastic coach name as well. I really enjoyed that character writing. Turturro, anytime he shows up in a movie, I'm going to give him this award, unless he's in it so much that I can't justify it. And then also shout out to Leonard Mackey playing DeAndre, the other man who plays the villain in the movie Drumline, which is probably going to be an Indican episode sometime as well. As a big movie for me in the 2000s, having been in Drumline. So shout out to DeAndre.
He got his ass kicked.
It gets punched in the fucking Adam's apple, and then it's a real tough beatdown for DeAndre. Really, just kind of walking up to see who this dude is heckling his girl. You know, I mean, he's an asshole, I guess, but like, he's kind of a silent asshole.
I don't know how old he's supposed to be in the film, but that's another dude that looks like a grown ass man hanging around high schoolers, man, like DeAndre is. I'd also, real quick, Strantz, if you'll humor me, like to give a shout out or a little special recognition to Uncle Bubba. He killed me as well. He's absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite lines, Uncle Bubba obviously is Jesus's uncle, and his aunt, who is Jesus's mom's sister. She's like, Bubba, stop pressuring him. And she goes, I'm going to go to the bedroom. And Bubba goes, good. Take your big ass to the bedroom. Just like, he's like this country bumpkin living in New York. So I really enjoyed Bubba's performance with a very limited role.
Yeah, he's good too. ISO play, single greatest scene. Sub, you want to talk about the flashback training montages? Take me there.
Incredible. It's just I think what it does is shows such the variations, I suppose, of the relationship with Jake and his son, Jake and his wife, even Jake and his nephew Booger, right? So we first start with the one-on-one scene between Jake, a young Jake Shuttlesworth and a very young Jesus Shuttlesworth, like, I don't know, maybe 5th grade or something like that. And Jake is pushing him like crazy, running suicides, not letting up at all in one-on-one, like a very, very smaller Jesus drives to the hoop and Jake like swats the shit out of it. And so you get this sense immediately that Jake is trying to push him out of the projects into superstardom, really. Like, this is definitely one of those things where it almost goes past, oh shit, he's a tough father, to damn, he's a little maniacal at this point. And then you also see his dangerous side in the sense that he's drinking as well. So he's a little out of control right now. And so Jesus throws the ball over the fence in a fit of rage because Jake just keeps shitting on him essentially. And, he's a child. He gets angry and he storms up to the house to have dinner. Jake takes a swig of his of some alcohol from some drifter or something, goes up to the house, ball is lost, and Jake is fucking pissed. He is seething because he's saying, look, that's my ball. You got to have respect for other people's property. He's back at the dinner table and he starts, basically calling out Jesus for being a poor sport, being a baby, and not having respect for people's property. He starts to raise his voice a little bit. And his wife, I think Martha is her name, is like, she can sense the tension. And so essentially what happens is Jesus gets up from the table. He asks to be excused first. And Jake's like, fuck no, like absolutely not. Sit your black ass down, I think is what he said. And so, tensions rise. And Martha's like, hey, chill out. You can't talk to him like that. They all get up. They go to the kitchen or whatever. Jake is shaking his son, Jesus. Martha comes up to stop him, and he literally throws her into, I think, the oven. She cracks her head, and she's pretty much dead. But what I really loved about this scene, I know I was just recanting it, is you see his relationship early with Jesus. I mean, Jesus, if Jake hadn't even killed his wife, Jesus probably would have hated him regardless. I think that just took it to the next level. In that same night where he pushed Jesus way too far, he then goes and kills his mother, who he wrote to during summer camp, who it clearly has a special bond with. You also see the relationship he has with his wife, which is a very, I'm the man of the house. Like, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to talk to my children. And then, of course, he takes it too far and kills her. But then right away, you can tell it's not like he's standing over, or he's not like he's lost control. Right away, the face drains. He knows it's serious, and he tells Jesus, call 911 right now. Like, he knows he's done something wrong. And it goes to your point, Sam, about manslaughter. He didn't mean to do this, but Jake has that violent and dangerous side. And I just thought it did a brilliant job of chronicling in, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, less than, the relationships he's had with his son and his wife.
Yeah, all those scenes are good too. And that one's kind of culminates in telling us what happened. We hear that he killed Jesus's mother the whole movie, and we're wondering like, wow, like this guy doesn't seem like, and then you sort of have those preconceived notions about what you think is a murder. So they sort of set you up to think, and it's good direction in writing, that he like did some violent crime. And then you eventually get there and realize that, it wasn't necessarily as violent as you maybe thought it was. It was kind of an accident, but also it was awful. So yeah, it's good stuff. All those scenes. I also include the Jake telling Jesus how he got his first name, referencing the player. It's not after the biblical characters. We get that reversal at the end, and kind of their last like bonding scene with Jesus is wearing that incredible overalls with like tank top look, which I love. And the Timbs, I believe, which is great stuff. And Jesus' visit to Tech U is kind of an entertaining romp with Rick Fox, which you can never go wrong with. And then the 1v1, Jake versus Jesus, the climactic scene where we're getting to this point, right? Of course, his decision has to come to a 1-versus-1 basketball game with his dad. I mean, it just needed to because of the plot of the story. Some background on this scene: Ray was supposed to go 15-0 according to the script and just decimate him. But Spike pulled Denzel aside minutes before shooting the scene and said, "Try to score on him for real." And Denzel said that the whole time they had been shooting around on the set, Denzel told Ray that he was shitty with his left hand. Like, he's always working on his left hand. He's no good with his left hand. So he said he immediately went left on Ray, who wasn't looking for that. And he said shots started going in, and he started to get more confident. He said eventually it culminated in him taking that extra lap. And all of Ray's reactions are unscripted because he didn't know what was going on. He thought he was just supposed to be beating his ass. So he didn't saw all that stuff. And he said he started to see Ray get mad because he started talking shit to Ray. And Ray's obviously like a burgeoning superstar. I believe going to be an all-star the next year in the NBA. And Denzel's just talking that mad shit. He said the New York came out in me, and I just started chirping at Ray Allen. And then Ray scored whatever straight to win the game. But that's good shit. I mean, that's kind of when you get the timeless performances, when you do stuff like that and go off the rails a little bit and let it happen organically. But this is Denzel got buckets on an NBA superstar, which, and you believe it. It's an old man game. His shot looks a little wonky. It goes in, though. We say that a lot about some of these NBA players. Like, as long as it goes in, And I think like Denzel and now his son, John David Washington, who was just in Tenet. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but he's like a fucking action star. They're just athletic and like you believe the shit they're doing. It doesn't feel unbelievable the way they move like athletes. John David was a college running back, his son. So I don't know. I buy the scene and it makes sense to me. What other single greatest scenes did you guys like from the film that I had mentioned? Maybe didn't really mention any scenes that Denzel not in. I think that's kind of the trend, right?
Well, the big time in the car would be the best thing without Denzel. That's true. Or the intro when we were intro to the team with the little hype video, and then the team rapping on the bus. I really like that part too. But my favorite was the opening montage by far. I rewound that twice, so I watched it a total of 3 times before I even let the movie play. So
yeah, it's really cool, and it really is like a love of the game situation. Most quotable quote: Michael Jordan. He got game. Now I don't know if he was like shot that for this movie or if that's just from something else, but I'm gonna pretend like it's shot for this movie. And because it's a direct. I don't know what it would have been if it weren't shot for this, but that's a tough. To get MJ after his like 6th title, or going into after he's won his 5th and going into the 6th title year, 97, 98. To get him to like do this, it's pretty impressive.
Well, I think MJ just terrorized the Knicks so much. Spike was just like, "Hey man, like, do me a solid, please."
Yeah, probably true. Big Time Willie, do you know how to spell pussy? Booger says, "I know PU." Big Time Willie, HIV. Jesus Shuttlesworth, has God forgiven you for killing my mother? Jake says, I pray that he has, son. I believe he has. When will you? Nice little scene ending there. Spivey, there's some money in there. Get some clothing, toothpaste, deodorant, personal effects, whatever have you. Take a shower, wash your ass. Shout out Jim Brown. And then Dom Pagnotti, when making a business decision, the only color that matters is green. As he's standing amidst like 6 or 7 sports cars. And I love when they're on the basketball court and Jesus is like, yeah, let's play 1-on-1. He's like, no, fuck that. He's like that's not what we're here for. He's like, just come look at these cars, because he has no interest in getting like fucking flushed on by Ray Allen. Any other good quotes that you guys have? Sub is obviously called out a lot throughout the podcast. Mason, is there any that come to mind?
Well, did you know that Dom was recreated in NBA 2K's My Story mode? I was like, hold on, this voice sounds exactly like 2K's My Story mode. And he was in it, a couple of years ago. I can't remember exactly which version, but yeah, Dom P, whatever his last name is.
I had no idea. That's great. That's such a basketball culture movie.
Is it his voice too? Like, is he the one voicing it?
Yeah, and it's his little cartoon character or whatever. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's that guy. Favorite quotes, like I said earlier, I love the one when Jesus was like, how come you never hear them praise and Jesus in the loser locker room? They're probably cussing that motherfucker out. Then when his sister was being told at school that they were going to be rich and have all this money, he was like, we not rich. We don't have no money. We don't have shit. I thought that just kind of showed the immense pressure that he was under as the big time guy, and everyone was expecting him to make it, but could very easily be Sebastian Telfair and never pan out, So, those are some quotes. I got some more somewhere, but Sue, what you got?
Yeah. To take it light, definitely pussy be saying Jesus. I love that. But, when he says the blood sucking leeches, I know I referenced this, but you see it really throughout the film. You see all the tentacles and people just tugging at this 18-year-old kid who has the weight of the world on his shoulders in terms of basketball, but also, you had mentioned it, Mace, he's got to raise his baby sister also. But you think about people that are supposed to be in his corner genuinely. His head coach is like, hey, take some money. Doesn't do it because Jesus is a principled individual. You got DeAndre and his girlfriend Rosario Dawson pulling at him. You got Big Time Willie. You got all the local people pulling at him. You got Dom Pagnotti trying to get his tentacles on him as a 18-year-old, right? Just so many people. And when he says the blood-sucking leeches, I really do feel like that is a quote. I feel like Spike almost crowdsourced from top players. How would you describe these people around you? and they're like blood-sucking leeches. And I mean, I think that's the most apt term you can get for some of these kids that, I mean, are just so high profile and everyone is just begging for a crumb. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my favorite quotes did come from Big Time Willie.
Yeah, the respect my call. It went in the younger version of the one-on-one game. That was good. And then I thought when Jake, after Jesus had thrown the ball and quit, when he was like, that's why he ain't going to make it. I thought that was probably the most impactful because, I mean, that's basically the last quote Jesus hears from Jake before he kills his mother, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff from Denzel in those training sequences that I think is like probably a lot of ad-libbing because Denzel's is really good at that. Yeah, a lot of good quotes that don't show up in like they're not quotes you would be like this great quote from, this movie, but there's a lot of good like Denzel chatter, which is, him doing his thing. The kind of the last question I want to ask is like, why the fuck didn't Jesus just go to the draft, man? Like, why? I mean, why are you even considering college? My dude, get the hell to the draft. I also want to point out in the 1998 draft, which is presumably when Jesus Shuttleworth would have entered his name, Michael Olaquandi went first to the Los Angeles Clippers. Second, Mike Bibby to our Vancouver Grizzlies. Third, Rafe LaFrentz, the Denver Nuggets. And then fourth, Antoine Jameson. Fifth, Vince Carter. So honestly, like, I feel like we could have easily seen Jesus go in the top 2 or 3 and immediately be making millions. And then he avoids the college choice, which is clearly bothering him. Like every time his high school coach asks what he's going to do, he really doesn't know. Like he's hoping the choice gets made for him, I think. So why the fuck wouldn't you just go to the league, dude?
I mean, especially with the younger sister aspect, but he was probably so turned off by Lala and also Dom that he was like, look, I'm not going straight to the league right now. But I mean, no, you make a very good point. Just bypass all of the tough decision-making and make money, right?
Like and honestly, what his father's pushing him into to benefit his own sentence is not the best thing for Jesus. Like, I mean, the best thing for him is to go to the league if he can get drafted. And it's not like we hear that Big State is some crazy good developmental school and like that coach has a high record of like churning out like, tenured NBA players or something. Like it's really just like not a good move for Jesus. So I always thought that like, that's kind of like the quick plot thing that just takes the movie. Like, it's like if that just happens and there's no movie. So,
Yeah, and I feel like the choice of the NBA was really downplayed throughout the movie. Like you had Dom and Desmond or whatever his name was, DeAndre, but it was really downplayed throughout the movie. It was almost like no one ever set Jesus down. It was like, these are your options. This is why going to the NBA would be beneficial right now. And was it a promise to his mother? Was there something with his mother in education?
There's a throwaway line. There's a throwaway line about his mom said that you can't buy an education, right? Like you gotta like just something you could earn, but he's not going to stay for long enough to get his degree at Big State. So like it's there's no way he's going to stay for 4 years, and that would be truly detrimental. So it's like I understand they put that throwaway line in there so they tie it into his mom and it makes more sense, but like practically, there's no fucking way this kid isn't going straight to the draft if he's as good as we're supposed to think he is.
I think also if we think about the time frame of this or the date or the year, right? What Kobe and KG were doing was kind of out of the ordinary. It was a huge risk for those guys. And everyone was like, look, I mean, you're great. I just don't know how, like, are you going to be able to translate to the league? So I still think it was a very outlandish thing to do to go straight from high school to the pro. I would say like, let me ask you guys, when do you think was the hottest time for high schoolers to jump to the NBA and when more and more people were doing it? I'm thinking like 2003. But when did they stop? Like 2007? When was the last time you could go?
6.
Yeah. Dwight, you had LeBron. But yeah, that's a very good point. Like it wasn't a sure thing because for every Kobe Bryant, who honestly wasn't a superstar immediately, there was a handful of Martell Websters. So that's a good point. It wasn't as big as it wasn't like when LeBron was like, this is the only choice LeBron James has.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time though, like it is, I mean, KG has success, right? Kobe has success. And this is, if we're supposed to believe this is 98, he has seen 2 guys go and be successful and doing it. So maybe it is kind of a time where it might happen. Whereas like the early 90s before KG, there weren't a lot of guys having success doing this. So I don't know. But still, like, it makes the most sense, right?
It's a fair question.
Yeah. All right. Rewatchability. Which one is this? Is this a buy on Blu-ray, a rent on iTunes? Maybe I'll catch it on HBO or Stars, or I doubtful I will ever see this shit again. Sub, where is this rewatchable on you?
Its ceiling is a rent on iTunes or a rental just on any streaming service, because I could see myself, like I said, at 11 p.m. I don't want to go to sleep, but I'm also like ready for bed almost. I know it's really long, but I'm like, you know what? This will get me to 1:30 and then I'll crash. If I see it, I'll buy it. Really. I think it's a rent on iTunes for me.
All right. Mason.
I'm not gonna buy it just because I don't buy any movies these days. But if it's on television or I'm scrolling through HBO Max and that's what comes up, then I'll watch it again.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I think its ceiling is a rent. But if I see a good deal, if it's on iTunes to buy for like $3, I have a lot of Spike Lee movies. I enjoy them, so I could see myself owning it for just because I like to procure movies and collections. Well, boys, any other thoughts on He Got Game? This has been a discussion of 1998's He Got Game, written, directed by Spike Lee, on In the Can, part of the Barn Burner Podcast Network. Any other closing thoughts before we peace out? We got a big game tomorrow, fellas.
Yeah, just very quick. I don't think we can get out of here without talking about how absurd the very, very last scene was when Jake throws the ball and it just magically appears during Jesus' shoot around.
Metaphoric, dude.
So fucking ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, Spike, dude, come on, man.
And the sniper is like gonna shoot him maybe because he's in the don't fucking go here zone, and like Denzel just stares down the guard like, shoot my ass, and like the guard just stares him down but doesn't do anything. It's like, I don't know. It was like one last ditch effort at like creating some conflict and some like suspense. But
so is the metaphor that Denzel is like giving up his dreams and is like he's at peace now that he was able to talk to Jesus, and they kind of had that reconciliation, I guess. Kind of. I mean, Jesus
Not
told
really,
him to
though.
take his old ass back to Attica and didn't sign the papers, and so what is the metaphor? Is it like
I don't know.
Did he say something like the ball's in your court right before he went back?
Something like that, probably. I don't know. My brain thinks there was that line in there, but I don't know if it actually was.
I don't think it was.
There also might be a relationship between like Jesus throwing the ball over the fence when he was a kid.
They're trying to play that. But they're obviously trying to harken back to that, but that doesn't make sense because Jake's not doing it or maybe he's doing it in a similarly angry way because the warden fucked him and hasn't reduced his sentence. So he like understands how mad Jesus was at a young age and does the same act. And then we're supposed to believe like father and son are synonymous. I don't know, dude. Like Spike.
Yeah, like a life's not fair thing. Like I can't fucking trust this warden who I just went out and made this happen for. And then Jesus was like, I can't trust my own fucking dad because he's an alcoholic.
Yeah. Who knows? I think we figured it out though. All right, boys.
There was a bumper sticker that said "Do sports, not drugs" in the coach's office that I really loved. And if you ever see one of those, I would love to have it.
Understood. I'll be on the lookout for that. Guys, it's been fun. Been another episode of In the Can. See you guys later.